gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 for one last time in 2022 for episode 123 of the 815 Exchange. That was a lot of numbers. But yes, one last time from the Blue Couch, one last time here from the 704 for 2022. If it was 2024, that'd be perfect. One last time from the 704 in 2020, that would be so perfect. But it's not the last episode, but it's the last episode of the year from the 704. And what a year it's been. Different locations, different couches, all that stuff. But interesting weekend in sports and entertainment. I had a very interesting weekend myself. We had UFC 282, we had some World Cup stuff, we got just a splash of entertainment, mostly just talking about Chainsaw Man. And we got plenty to talk about. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And, as always, as I always say, anything you were looking for can be found in the description. So, timestamps provided in the description. My social medias provided in the description. That's what you're looking for. You want to skip ahead to whatever subject you're looking for. You want to hear me talk about the NFL in the week. You want to hear me talk about how the Cowboys survived the worst team in the league. Feel free to skip ahead. Timestamps are provided in the description. But yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight to it. No major college football segment for the first time in a very, very long time. As the only game this week is Army-Navy, which apparently was a pretty good game as well, even though there wasn't game day, and that was a little kind of a big thing that people were up in arms about. But we'll get to the Heisman stuff and the awards in the Roundup. But we will start off what we used to start off all the time during the summer, and that's combat sports, because we had some stuff in boxing and MMA. Like I said, UFC 282, a card that went through a couple different changes. The big one being the headliner. Of course, Jiri blew his shoulder out into 50 million pieces, so he could not fight Glover Teixeira. So, Jean versus Ankalaev took over as the world, light heavyweight title fight, if that's what you want to call it. Since I don't even think it was an interim fight. I think it was literally for the belt. So, interesting scenario there with Dana and the UFC kind of coming up with that. Pretty good fight, as expected. Jan really did some damage early on, especially to Ankalaev's knees. I don't know why Ankalaev, listen, Dagestanian overlord, you just take him down and go to the ground and go to work. But for whatever reason, he wants to stand up with Jan. Don't understand it, don't think it's a great idea, wouldn't recommend it. And he got picked apart. To be honest, early on, got picked apart. But at some point in time, once again, he was reminded that he is Dagestani, and he started taking Jean to the ground, and he started winning some of those later rounds. It got called a draw. I saw some say Ankalaev won. I saw some saying, draw was deserved. Didn't really see too many saying Jean won. I mean, I feel like the draw was pretty fair, but it's like the belt stays vacant. It seems like Jiri he vacated for seemingly no reason. Even though I respect the hell out of him for vacating, because a lot of people would just hold on to the title. But, it's just it's anticlimactic. It's anticlimactic to the card. It's anticlimactic to the entire situation. It's just, it's whatever. But I feel like both men would probably wish to have had better performances in this fight. Co-main event. Paddy the Baddy, all right? I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all, alright? I'm not going to sit here. UFC's not got me on payroll yet, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, he won that fight. He didn't win that fight. Alright, straight up, he didn't win the fight. They tried to give him, we're going to give it Jared Gordon, Flash Gordon, right? Paddy's going to do his thing, give him the co-main event slot because it's not a super deep card, at least in terms of headliners. He'll give this big press, the hype train rolls on. Instead, Bro got robbed. It was pretty bad robbing. A lot of y'all talk about fights that are clearly like some fishy goal. This is one of those. There is no way in hell that Paddy Pimblett won that fight, with all due respect. And I don't even think it was really that close. But nonetheless, Paddy the Baddy gets the win. Clear robbery. I mean, clear and blatant robbery, but, it is what it is. Paddy is in danger as he continues to move up unless he takes a stark talent jump. But, yeah, I guess they couldn't deal with, Meatball Volley and Paddy losing and killing that entire, train. So, however, a hype trade that is keep going, that's Tapura is him. 145 is a division full of killers, and yet we have another killer who could potentially be champ one day. Tapura made Bryce Mitchell look amateurish on the ground and subbed him in round 2. And Bryce Mitchell is not like a chump. Bro can go. We've talked about on this podcast him taking out some pretty high level opponents. And Tapura just easy, clean work. Looked dangerous on the feet, but my goodness, when he got to the ground, the way he was transitioning, the wrestling, it was beautiful to watch. It was like art. He is a dangerous man. He's a dangerous man in a very dangerous division. An impressive win, probably one of the more impressive wins of the day. Besides, of course, Mr. Rojas Jr. at 18 years old, beating another grown man. This one also in the first round against Perrin in his debut with the UFC. Wahl basically just needs to keep his development track, and I think he'll be a top 5 guy, maybe, potentially. Of course, he's only 18. He's still got a lot to, get better at. But that was about as impressive as a debut you can have at 18 on the biggest stage. So, shout out to Ross Jr. A lot of people jumping on that hype train. He potentially looking like he could be something very, 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 very special. To kind of round up this card, we had Jairo Rosenstrike, not Chris Dan. I mean, steamrolled Dukakis. It was levels. It was levels. It was one of those levels to fights, to be completely honest. And Buckley gets KO'd by Curtis. Lived by the cog kick, died by the cog kick. Unfortunately, Buckley, who was winning this fight, got caught by it, and boy did he get capped. And he gets KO'd. I don't think he's ever going to hit that potential a lot of us seem to think he had at one point in time. I just don't think he's that. He'll be an entertaining, prelim, early main card fighter, but I don't think he's ever going to be really a contender. But that was UFC 282, last major card of the year in the UFC. What a year it's been. Had the ups and downs from iconic champions falling to new stars rising. It's been a wild year in the UFC, and pretty wild card to end it off on. Boxing, nothing too major, but we did have 2 of its biggest stars take the ring this past weekend. Teofimo Lopez got the split decision win and struck the Heisman pose for a man we'll talk about later in the roundup. Teo gets the split decision versus Martin. He was very frustrated in this fight. Now, Martin is a very frustrating fighter to go against just because of style reasons and his talent, but Teo was visibly frustrated in this fight. In fact, after the fight, he asked, "Do I still have it?" Which is never anything you want to hear from your fighter at, 24, 25? I think Teo might be 24, he might be 25. But, a fighter that young, who's supposed to be, getting closer and closer to that prime, that is not what you want to hear. Do I still have it? We'll see, but, Teo, I hope he works through whatever mental strife he's going through, or if it's just like the jump isn't going as clean, or whatever it is, I really do hope the best for him. I think he needs to get away from his dad as like the trainer / manager, because his dad is it just comes off very controlling, very hugger, like he's living through his son. And as much as Teo loves his dad, you need to let him go so Teo can continue to advance, because it somewhat feels like he's stalling in development. But we'll see what happens with Teo, but he does get the win here. Terrence Crawford with the KO. I'm not even going to say his opponent's name. It's not even worth it. I'm probably not even going to pop a picture up because, it was expected. All right, I don't have any interest in Terrence Crawford fighting anybody except for Earl Spence. So when one of those two decide to, figure things out and, just take the fight for the love of God, then I'll get my interest back on Bud. But until then, I don't really care. His name's David. That's the best you'll get out of me. 6-round KO. Terrence did what he was expected. Now, for where should we go? Where should we go? How about we go to the World Cup, shall we? Let's go to the internationals. Head over to Qatar. Also, rest in peace to Grant Wahl. Legendary. I mean, I remember watching Grant, but also reading his articles in Sports Illustrated in various publications when I was younger. So, yeah, shocking. I'm not going to speculate about his death. I'm going to leave that to y'all and, his family. I just hope they get their peace of mind. It's just an unfortunate situation. But, yeah, rest in peace to Grant Wahl, first off. Number 2, let's talk, all right? Quarterfinals, World Cup. Who's going to the semis and who's going to the final, which we will be talking about next week in episode 124. But for episode 123, what do we have on stake here? Well, first off, we started off with Croatia and Brazil. Of course, Brazil, the number 1 ranked team in the world. They had been on fire preceding this Croatia game. A lot of people had them the favorites to win the entire thing. They were playing some beautiful, beautiful football. Unfortunately, Croatia is Croatia. All right, and y'all need to put some respect on Croatia's name as one of the top teams in the world. Period. End of cause. Croatia gets it 1-1 after Petkovic. Well, actually not. I mean, Croatia scored first. Yeah, Petkovic got in the box first. Then Neymar scores a worldie. All right, a worldie. Basically dribbled it in. Incredible footwork and balance in extra time to send us to penalties. And after the moment of brilliance from Neymar, unfortunately, like I said, they are Croatia. And Croatia, if you know one thing about Croatia, they do not miss at penalties. They are quite possibly the best penalty-taking nation on planet Earth. If there is a nation you want to select in a penalty shootout, it is probably Croatia. They were the team, and it was the time. And unfortunately, Brazil got knocked out, and Neymar, the golden boy, the best Brazilian player of his generation, doesn't even get to go out on his shield. He was the 5th taker, and Brazil didn't make it to 5. Croatia pulls off the upset, takes out the number 1 team in the land, in the world, and they move on to the semifinals. As dramatic as possible. Rodrigo, fell for him. I've always been Team Rodrigo. Unfortunately, he took the first one. He missed it, and that just kind of set the tone. It's a big argument in terms of penalties, especially after the day that was, especially in this quarterfinal, in the order. Do you want your best penalty takers at that 4 or 5 slot where you can close the game off, where you can end it, right? Or do you put them at the beginning to have them set the tone and apply the pressure early? It's an interesting. You can understand both strategies. It's an interesting conversation. I don't know which way I really lean. I think maybe like a mixture. You still need to have good PK takers at that 4 or 5 slot because it's important, especially with the chance to win. But also at the same time, you got to set the tone. It's better to be applying the pressure and get ahead in a penalty shootout than having to be the one that has to fight back. Momentum plays a lot into the psychological factor of a penalty shootout. So I see it for both lanes, but Croatia, once again, gets it done in the penalty shootout. They're headed to the semis. Well, who are they playing? Well, Argentina and Netherlands. As Peter Drury so beautifully and eloquently has described in many videos on which you can watch, probably on TikTok if you just look up Drury. Major game with a lot of major implications considering these two teams' history, going all the way back to R.I.P. But in this edition, Argentina went up 2-0. It looked like it was scot-free. Messi had a pin. Messi had an assist. Another Messi masterclass. It started getting a little chippy. All right. They LVG subs on Weghorst, and he goes ballistic. Scores in the 83rd. And then in the 90th minute, 11 minutes of stoppage time, because we had some fighting going on. All right, this was a proper rivalry. Took me back to the CONCACAF, watching days. Proper rivalry. Okay. Weghorst comes on. They get a free kick in their own end, And Netherlands pulls off one of the most impressive PK, well not PK, but free kicks, set pieces I've ever seen. They loft it off. They don't go for the shot. They loft it off through the middle to Weghorst. He boxes out, uses his 6'7" or whatever frame, 6'6", fires a shot, ties the game with the last kick of the regular game of regulation. Ties it with the last kick of regulation. All the dramatics, huge thing. We end up going to extra time. Go back and forth there. Argentina, oh boy. Messi with one of the, first off, well, even before we got to extra time, Messi with one of the most blatant, probably red card-esque handballs I've seen. And then I don't know what Enzo Fernandez was thinking. I guess he lost his mind. Bad foul, and then he fires off a shot directly at the Netherlands bench. Now, with all due respect, you know, I keep a pretty cool head. I don't think I would have kept a cool head. He would have probably gotten punched in the face and I'd have gotten a red card. Because I would have, I mean, that is blatantly dangerous and I do not understand how he does not get red carded for that offense. Blatantly sending a shot that is dangerous and violent at an opposing team's bench. Not on an accident, not, you know, literally on purpose, fires a shot and he got away with it. The refereeing was all over the place. There was like 15 yellow cards or something crazy. I mean, once again, the fighting. I mean, after every single break, it seemed like there was some type of hostile discussion going on. It was wild. And of course, we go to PKs. And Emi Martinez has a masterclass, to be completely honest. He won them that game in PKs with the saves, the psychological stuff. And yeah, Argentina got ahead, unlike Brazil. And Netherlands, unfortunately, could not fight back, and Emi Martinez and Argentina move on. They will face Croatia in the semifinal. Messi's dream is still alive. And boy, oh boy, what a chaotic game. And what people are calling the greatest quarterfinal day in the history of the World Cup. And honestly, I wouldn't argue against it. But yeah, it was crazy, wild, mad, all of the words. All right, this game was insane. It had everything. Bad refereeing, foul calls, fights, incredible goals, star players being stars. It had everything, all right? The day in general had everything. Crazy day in the World Cup. But yeah, Argentina, they move on. They got Croatia. But what about the other side? Portugal, all right? A lot of people had some faith, you know, in Cristiano Ronaldo versus Messi. It's their last go. We had the iconic photo. This is it, right? We're going to get a Messi versus Ronaldo potentially final. You know, that was the dream for a lot of football fans. Unfortunately, that dream is not going to happen because Morocco is not going to allow it. In part of the war currently for Iberia that Morocco is currently marauding on, they decided to make a victim of Portugal. Alright? And Nassari got the goal. He jumped about 52 feet in the air. It looked Ronaldo-esque. So yeah, he gets that header absolutely insane. I think he got 35 inches off the ground, which is a very good vertical for those that do not understand what I'm saying. That is jumping very high, okay? That's like NBA player, NFL player type bunnies. Alright, man got up, gets the goal, and Morocco shut it down. They shut Portugal down. And it's been a reoccurring theme because Morocco has yet to be scored on in regular play in this World Cup. Yet to be scored on. Their defense has been impeccable. The way they are playing as a team defensively is next level and makes them a very dangerous team. Because it is working on all cylinders. Of course, Bono's been great in goal, but that defense has been sublime. And it's not like Portugal is you know, breadth of attacking talent. Even with Ronaldo coming off the bench, this is a team stacked with attacking talent. Santos, Leao, Ronaldo, Felix, so on and so forth. Bruno, they got attacking talent, but they could not crack open Morocco. For whatever reason you want to call it, they could not get it done. And for the final time probably in Ronaldo's career, he has been eliminated from the World Cup. The dream is over. And unfortunately, as we saw way too many times, even though I understand for the significance and part of me wants to see it, even though part of me is also like, I hate that they keep the camera on them for this long and they follow them and we see all of this, even though I understand the emotional significance of it. And part of, me, of course, as a spectator is curious to all of this. It sucks to see I tweeted something similar to this out. It sucks to see the stars, the heroes of their childhood, grow old. It's just weird to see. You hear about it, but you never really. It's just weird to see. Ronaldo was a darn near a demigod at one point in time, and now he just looks human. And there was no place he's looked more human than when he broke down on the way to that locker room, unable to even, go and talk to anybody because of the emotion. While also on the flip side, you had the joy of the Moroccan team, or the Moroccan fans. It's the ultimate, scene of the pride and pain of sports. It's what makes it beautiful, but also makes it, a terror. Seeing people at the highest of highs in what feels like the lowest of lows. And if you're an athlete, you probably felt both of those things. And that is part of the beauty, and like I said, the terror of our sports, is that it comes with these emotions. But just one thing I wanted to know about that game. And Morocco moves on, looking very good. Who will they be playing? Well, we had my most anticipated game of the week. In fact, I skipped us playing one of the best scorers in the history of college basketball to watch this game, just because of how big it was. And of course, that was England versus France. Of course, you got England, home of football. What more can I say? Super deep team, one of the best teams in the world. And of course, you got France, also one of the best teams in the world. Best player on the planet, defending champions, all that stuff. So, I, opened up the Mbappe dilemma last week. I said there's two ways you can go about this, right? You either double or triple team him, shut him down and let somebody else beat you, or you try to play him one up and pray to God that he doesn't beat you, and he's just going to be honest, he's probably going to beat you because there's nobody on the planet that can cover him one-on-one. Some people would have said Kyle Walker. Unfortunately, in this game, for those people, we found out that it is not Kyle Walker, at least not anymore. Because in one-on-one situations, he was getting cooked. Mbappe probably even should have an assist in this game. But for the most part, the double and triple teaming, which is the strategy Southgate and England went with, worked. Mbappe, for the most part, was kept in check in this game. In fact, he didn't even play really that aggressive, played more like a decoy, if anything, which would make you think, maybe, just maybe, England could pull it off. And to be honest, England was probably the better team. They probably, in some ways, you could say even deserved to win this game. Unfortunately, just like life, sports is not always fair. And boy, oh boy, was it the cruelest of mistresses for one particular superstar in the world's game. And that man would be Harry Kane. After Harry got it to 2-1, by the way, after Tashimi scored a wonder goal, by the way, which was started by Mbappe. So I guess Mbappe, there you go. An insane run, cut across the field, found Grease found Tashuma, and I don't even know how he made that. That was an insane goal from outside the box. They go 1-0. France shows that they are not invulnerable. Gives up a stupid penalty. Tashumi actually does. Kane buries the penalty, 1-1. Then we go later. Giroud, it's 1-1. He's thirsting for something, but past the 70th minute, big game. It's Olivier Giroud time. Griezmann, who has been spectacular this whole entire World Cup, with an incredible cross. Of course, it finds Giroud's head. He buries it. France go up 2-1. Finally, 80-something minutes, Teo Hernandez with one of the most embarrassing, one of the worst, most unnecessary fouls I've ever seen in the box. I mean, Mason Mount was absolutely not getting to that. Just completely unnecessary. He runs right through him like he's a running back. And, yeah, here we are. 80 whatever minutes. Harry Kane does not miss on penalty. He's one of the best PK takers. If there's somebody you want at that spot right now, it's probably Harry Kane. He's made one earlier in the game. Beat his teammate and friend Hugo Lloris. All he has to do is do what Harry Kane does, bury the penalty, England, scotch-free, move on. Unfortunately, football can be a very, very cruel mistress, as I stated. And boy, oh boy, oh boy. And what would have been a hell of a field goal or extra point, Harry Kane skies it. Not save, not the post. Skies it from the spot. England loses hope. They get a couple more chances. It comes up nil and void. England lose to France 2-1 after their captain, superstar, best player, skies it in the chance to tie the game, and England bottle it again. France, the defending champions, the dream hangs on. Even after everything England did in this game, I mean, Saka playing the game of his life, really should have been subbed off. Looking like holding most of possession, looking like they had the more attacking chances, looking like the better team. After everything, they still just found a way to lose. And unfortunately, it was the man who you would have never expected, to be completely honest. But yes, all of the dramatics here in the quarterfinals. France moves on. They get Morocco. Hakimi versus Mbappe. The best friends go against each other. Going to be looking like Royce and Lewandowski. That should be an interesting one. I'm not counting out Morocco in that one, even though France will be the favorites. Argentina will be the favorite versus Croatia, but I think Croatia has proved themselves enough, have they not already? So, should be an interesting semifinal over the coming days. Of course, we'll be tuned in watching those, but yeah, very excited to see what's next in the World Cup. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, entertainment, Chainsaw Man. After last week's insane episode of literally every single person dying, we got the aftermath of that situation. And, you know, I thought the Blade Devil and the girl who owns the Snake Devil, I don't have her name yet, you know, I thought they were terrifying. And then I met Makima, is a monster. I don't know what different. That woman is a beast, alright? I don't know what she is. I don't know how many different contracts she is. I don't know if she's just like Denji where she is the contract. I don't know what it is. But the woman is dangerous. Alright? The fear in their hearts when they were like, wait, can somebody confirm the body? Alright? When she rose up out of there with the blood still on her face, like, yeah, I'm not actually dead. And then somehow put a hole in them. Right? So she killed them like that. She went and has the diplomatic immunity to get up 30 prisoners on life, lines them up, has them say the name like she's a human death note, and then does this and pops every single person that attacked Denji and her like crew. Pops all of them like she's Vic Newman. She also somehow had the crows. I don't even know. Alright, I don't even know. The woman is terrifying. But she is best girl once again. Alright, she's best girl once again. Back to #1 spot. Of course, it's by default because most of them are dead. I guess Himeneo had one more contribution as her ghost hand went and pulled Denji's chainsaw to bring him back to life before he died once again. Though I'm sure he'll just regenerate and come back because, you know, it'd be kind of weird to have Chainsaw Man without the title character. But Makima is her Blatant and Snake Devil were terrified. They barely escaped. Kobeni, oh my goodness. I was wondering what it was. Because it seems like all of them have contracts. I don't know what her contract is yet, but she's got the skills. Alright? The speed. Ducking everything. She had to throw at her, climbed up on her, sliced that boy up, and then took Denji with her. It was just impressive. Alright, Kobeni, she goes up to number two best girl. Yeah, just insane. Alright, insane episode. Makima said, I'm getting back in blood, and boy, oh boy, did she get it back in blood. The pace in this show is absolutely insane, but it's one of my favorite shows right now. So, yeah, we'll keep it going. We'll talk about next week's episode. Other stuff in entertainment, nothing really happened in music. 2 Out to Handle is back. Wednesday apparently is doing well. So maybe I'll watch Wednesday. I've been watching 2 Out to Handle. Cast is insane. Women are beautiful though. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it for entertainment. Which brings me to probably one of the earliest we've been brought to this, and that, of course, is the National Football League. Now, before I talk about my beloved Cowboys, which I know you were all waiting for, to hear me talk and hear my voice quiver as I talk about us almost losing to the worst team in the league, we of course have to stay on schedule, and we're starting on Thursday nights. The Rams took on the Raiders. Alright? And the Raiders looked like they were that team. Alright? The team that they've been the past 2 weeks, they were looking good. The Rams were looking like the team that they have not been all year. Or really the team they have been all year. And that's not very good. Alright, top 10 pick, they look horrid. But then Baker Mayfield decided that it was time for the revenge arc. It's time for the redemption arc. And he goes, just like Max did, he goes just, I think, around 90-ish yards, straight down the field, throws a strike to Van Jefferson with 10 seconds to go, and wins the game. Baker Mayfield is back, ladies and gentlemen. 22 for 35, 230 and a touchdown for Baker. Yeah, on the flip side, Mr. Carr. 11 for 21, 37, and not one, but 2 picks, the brace of picks to go along to put the cherry on top and waste away nearly another Josh Jacobs 100-yard game. He went 99 and a touchdown. The defense has really shined in this game, if I'm being honest. 4 sacks. I mean, Max Crosby was a man unleashed in this game for Vegas. But ultimately, it ended up being a waste because, once again, Baker Mayfield winds back the clock. Looked even a little bit like Oklahoma Baker. Drives down the field and says, you know what, I'm back. And for a moment in time, it looks like he's back. The post-game shot of, McVay hyping them up, and then Mayfield. That's what, as a football player, we live for, right? Just those moments and the excitement there. And yeah, I mean, credit where credit's due. All right, they were down 16-3 headed into the fourth quarter. Scored with under 4 minutes with Cam Akers getting the 1-yarder, and then the Van Jefferson strike off a dime for Baker. Give a shout to the boy. All right, he's been through a lot this year, and you know what? He got it done. Rams get the win 17-16. The Bills and the Jets. All right, the Jets. Just not, you're not there yet, and that's okay. It's okay. Soon, but just not there yet. Unfortunately, the other problem is y'all just about let Mike White die on the field because the man got brutalized by the Bills. In fact, he hurt his ribs, and then they had to take him to the hospital after the game for internal bleeding. That's how many times, that's how much he got beat up in this game. And it wasn't all sacks. He only got sacked 3 times, if you would believe it. But the QB hurries were out of hand. The man got hit 4 times, and that's the listed times. That's the listed times. Because it was much more than that. The man got brutalized in this game. Yeah, hold on. Actually, it was more than that. Yeah, 8 times. My bad. That was the Jets QB hits. I was like, that's definitely not right. Yeah, man got hit 8 times. Unacceptable from the Jets O-line. Unacceptable. Mike White fighting for his life out there on the field, and his team just was overmatched, to be honest. Not that Josh Allen or, Stephon Diggs went ballistic and had some monster game. They only won 20-12. But it was the defensive performance for the Bills that really set them apart in this game. Even though the Jets made a little bit of a comeback. I mean, you had Jermaine Johnson with the punt block to get the safety. But unfortunately, they just ran out of time, and White was too beat up to really make any type of offensive contribution. Solid defensive performance from both teams, but the Bills get the win. The Bengals are back. I said the King of the North was back, so how would he do against the conference opponents? The usual. Burrow, 239, 2 touchdowns in the game for him. Mixon with 96 yards. Jamar Chase, all right, if he wasn't back last week, he is back now. Back to the usual, 10 receptions, 119 and a touchdown for one of the best receivers on planet Earth. And yeah, wasn't even a big T. Higgins game. In fact, he didn't have a catch. I don't even know if T played. Tyler Boyd got skunked. All right, he had 1 target though. But Jamar Chase just could not be stopped. All right, Burrow and Chase did Burrow and Chase things in this game. Logan Wilson was tackling everything with a pulse. He ended up with 14 solos and 17 total. Deshaun Watson got picked off again to the joy of many, many people, though he honestly played a little bit better. DPJ also had a good game, 8 receptions, 114. Myles Garrett had 2 sacks. You might see some of that and think, okay, solid game for the Browns, but then unfortunately, it was not to be. The Bengals stay hot, 23-10. They get the win. It is the moment you have all been waiting for since it hit the final score yesterday at 3 or 4, whatever o'clock. The Dallas Cowboys survive, all right? And I mean that with every definition of the word survive. Survive the Houston Texans. I don't know what it is. I guess it's just the Texas rivalry thing, but we always get the Houston Texans' best shot. No matter the records, no matter how good we are, no matter how bad they are, they always give us their best shot. Always. And boy, oh boy, was it a shot. It was a hell of a shot. And they nearly pulled it off. But we did, unfortunately, they left just a little bit too much time. We drive down the field. Zeke gets the 2-yard run with 41 seconds to go, and we survive. At home, we survive the Houston Texans. This game was way closer than it had any need to be. Dak played bad. I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like there was progress or no. He was bad. He did 2 picks. He wasn't pretty. One of them he got hit on. Blah 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 blah. Call it what you want. He didn't play good. All right. He did not play good by any stretch of the word. Zeke and Tony Pollard were solid. Both of them got in the box. They had about 100 yards combined. But nothing too crazy. The defense, especially in the end, in that fourth quarter, they turned it up. They started showing up. They were a little shaky throughout this game. Texans had a lot of success. We almost made Davis Mills look competent, though we picked him off once. Damian Pierce was a threat. Man had 78 yards and a touchdown. We had Chris Moore playing the game of his life. He had 10 and 124. For a lot of this, we even made Amari Rodgers look like an NFL receiver again. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. This game was not pretty for us. But some way, somehow, defensively, we made it happen in that fourth quarter. We found a way to get the score at the end, and we survived. All right, we survived. And that's all I'm going to give you. We survived. Ladies and gentlemen, after the way they started the season, I really can't believe I'm going to say this, but I think the Detroit Lions might be a good team. I don't know. I think the Detroit Lions might at least be a solid team. I mean, surprisingly, they are 6-7. Believe it or not, they are 6-7, and they just beat the best team in their division. 34-23. The Lions take out the Vikings, who, by the way, have accumulated some very interesting losses. With the only 3 losses they've taken this year, they have chosen some very interesting situations to take those L's. But nonetheless, Jamison Williams, by the way, is back. Welcome back, J-Mo. And with his first NFL catch, he decided to do it in the only way J-Mo could, a 40-yard touchdown. Congratulations to J-Mo. Nice to have you back. Glad your knee is okay. This was a great game. All right, back and forth. Detroit, however, jumped out on them 28-13 after a Justin Jackson 15-yarder at the top of the fourth. And the Vikings were just kind of playing from behind from there, and they really started busting this game wide open. The Lions did. And yeah, the Vikings just could not, recover from that, could not catch back up. Jared Goff, all right? I haven't slandered Jared Goff in what feels like ages, and that feels very, very weird. But I can't do it again this week, all right? He was great. 27 for 39, 333 touchdowns. Looked like a competent quarterback. Unbelievably so, the Detroit Lions put up 34 points on this Vikings defense with their leading rusher being off of 1 carry. And it wasn't a touchdown. It was a 42-yard carry. But their leading rusher had 42 yards, and they put 34 on the Vikings. Okay? That's because 3 different players had 5 receptions and at least 50 yards. Of course, one of those being J-Lo, because, he scored. Amon-Ra was the other. And how about DJ Chark going 694 and 1 in this game for the Detroit Lions? They got some decent pressure as well. Actually, not even decent. I mean, the pass rush was actually going. 4 sacks and I think around 9, almost 10 QB hits of Kirk Cousins in this game. Kirk played great, 425 and 2 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson did Justin Jefferson things, 11 and 223 yards receiving for Jettas, and it still wasn't enough. Bend don't break. Bend don't break, and it worked for the Lions. And again, Goff has been playing phenomenally. The Lions have been really good the past couple weeks. Can't just not gonna sit here and lie to you. They've been pretty good. Pretty good. Trevor Lawrence is here. Alright? T-Law is here. I remember all of y'all, okay? We can roll it back. I never called the boy blessed. I said maybe there needs to be a conversation, but I never called the boy. I always had faith. It was never in doubt. Alright? Because now y'all can't say nothing. Y'all can't say nothing. Taking on the Titans, number 1 in their division. And Tennessee, one of the best defenses in the league. Trevor Lawrence goes 30 for 42, 368, 3 touchdowns, and he even threw in 1 rushing, 4 touchdowns, in over 300 yards, almost 400. And oh, by the way, they got the win. The Jaguars are a very, very interesting team. They have made some type of a jump. All right, they're 5-8, so not too bad. Trevor Lawrence has also clearly taken a jump. I mean, it's just a wonder what it does for your your potential superstar quarterback when you actually get him a head coach that gives and you get him some type of weapons. All right, it's a wonder. It's a wonder what a solid young quarterback does around a competent team. It is just a wonder, isn't it, Jacksonville? I mean, my gosh. Who could have done it? Evan Ingram played the best game of his career probably in this game. They had him looking like prime Gronk or Shannon Sharp. I don't know. 11 receptions, 162 and 2 touchdowns. He looked like the top 10 pick that he was all those years ago. But yeah, him and Trevor's chemistry was on a different level in this game. They got 4 sacks at Tannehill. I think he actually got knocked out of the game at one point. Then we came back, I think, pretty quickly. Tannehill finishes 254, 2 touchdowns, or interception. Not too bad. Derrick Henry got back into 100-yard territory with 121 and a touchdown, but it was not enough. In fact, he fumbled twice, and both of them got lost. So, yeah. Brilliance from King Henry, but also some of the King Henry we've seen the past couple weeks. And the Jaguars, with a statement-making win, a true breakout game for Trevor Lawrence. He was phenomenal. He looked like the generational quarterback a lot of people deemed him to be. He was just that good in that game. Phenomenal performance. Jags win. The Eagles get it done versus the Giants, 48-22. It was, I would say it's the most complete game, but I mean, the Eagles are 12-1. Which game have they played this year that has not been complete is what the real question probably should be. I mean, they destroyed the Giants in East Rutherford. I mean, destroyed them. This game was not close. It wasn't even as close as the score says, to be honest with you. Richard James scored in garbage time off a throw from Tyrod Taylor to make it look a little bit better. But this game was not close. It was not close. Jalen Hurts firmly should probably be MVP number 1, 217 and 2 touchdowns. That team, as he has ascended, has also ascended. Miles Sanders was phenomenal in this game, 144 and 2 touchdowns for him. Hurts also got in the box. Boston Scott got a touchdown. A.J. Brown did things for my fantasy team. It was just another dominating performance. Brandon Graham with 3 sacks defensively for the Eagles. They destroyed the Giants. All right, simply put, they destroyed the New York Giants. This game was not close. The Ravens and the Steelers. I almost said something really out of pocket about somebody that I know that went to this game, but I am going to hold off. But the Ravens beat the Steelers. Not the prettiest game, obviously. Of course, Kenny Pickett got injured, so Trubisky had to come in. He proceeded to throw almost 3 straight picks. Horrible game. A horrible game. A game that gets you cut in most situations. And Lord knows Monday can still come around and finish today, and he might not be on the team. Because it was a horrific performance from Trubisky. Not that the Ravens were much better. I mean, Tyler Huntley got knocked out of the game. Anthony Brown had to come in. Thank God for J.K. Dobbins doing for 120 and a touchdown. But this game, nonetheless, was not pretty. Classic AFC North. Ravens get the win. The Chiefs take out the Broncos 34-28. The Broncos had a little bit of hope, a simmer of hope. It was an incredible comeback. They were down 27-7. But, oh my goodness, Russell Wilson's back. He throws 3 straight passing touchdowns. He finds Judy twice. Here we go. Here's the comeback. And then the Chiefs remembered that they were the Kansas City Chiefs and said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes. Had his most Brett Favre-esque game ever, probably. Over 300 yards. Part of the reason why they won, but also part of the reason why they almost lost. The man had 3 touchdowns and 3 picks. Classic Favre game for Mahomes. Jared McKinnon finally shows up. And it was actually a receiving game, not so much the rushing game. 7 receptions, 112, and a touchdown for him. Kelsey, no monster game. They held him in check. Juju Smith-Schuster, though, 9 receptions, 74 yards, and a touchdown for Juju. The defense had 6 sacks and 11 quarterback hits, including taking Russ out of the game after he was honestly looking like a little bit like the Russ of old. 247, 3 touchdowns. Brett R.I.P had to come in. He threw a pick and unfortunately couldn't close the game. But Judy also had a hat trick. So shout out to Jerry Judy. One of the best games of his young career. But like I said, all right, despite the fact that they looked like a blowout early on and Russell Wilson trying to lead the team back, and the Broncos looking competent for just a simmer of time, a second of air, of this eternity, they actually looked like they might be the Denver Broncos that people thought they were. The Kansas City Chiefs had to simply remind them that you were simply not that guy, pal. Chiefs get the win 34-28. The 49ers destroyed the Bucs. The Bucs are not a good team. I've said this multiple times. I'm not going to say it again. I will say prayers for Debo. I hate that injury. Hate that way that he got rolled up on. I hate it. Wishing the best for him. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, but he has not been relevant in the games he has started so far for the San Francisco 49ers. In fact, he was very relevant in this game, and it's part of the reason why they took that W. 16 for 21 for Purdy, 185 and 2 touchdowns. It got so out of hand with the love that I saw an announcer on live television compare Brock Purdy to Joe Montana. Take that how you will. Christian McCaffrey, all right, CMC, unfortunately, he is no longer in the 704, but he is still very much so CMC. 119 yards and a touchdown for McCaffrey. Rushing, 34 yards, 2 receptions, and a touchdown receiving. So CMC doing CMC things. Of course, Debo got in the box, but of course the injury was the big concern and the big story from this game, and just kind of wishing him the best. Tom Brady threw 2 picks and was not a very good quarterback in this game, but then again, the Bucs were not a very good team. Not a pretty game, unless you're a 49ers fan, which it was pretty much bliss besides Debo getting injured. The Panthers take out the Seahawks. Why the Carolina Panthers refuse to play good anywhere else, I mean just anywhere else besides at home, I will never understand, but they beat the Seattle Seahawks 30-24. Sure. Darnold had 120 and a touchdown. Chuba Hubbard looked like an NFL running back finally, 74 yards and a touchdown. They had 223 yards rushing total because Deontay Foreman also had 74. 3 sacks, 2 picks. J.C. Horn has been really, really good, by the way. We haven't talked about that a lot on here, but J.C. Horn has looked very, very good. Very much so looking like the cornerback, shutdown quarterback he was supposed to be, and looking like he can emerge as one of the best, cornerbacks in the game. Absolutely, he's looked like that guy. Geno Smith on paper didn't play too bad of a game if you don't look at the turnovers. 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. You're thinking, all right, Geno, okay. But he played more like Jets Geno than Seahawks Geno, and that's going to be a problem. All right, that is going to be a problem. And the Panthers somehow, someway win this game. They just love playing on the road apparently and not Charlotte. The Chargers get the win 23-17. Sunday Night Football. The Chargers have been up and down, but they were sliding a little bit closer from their mid position to mediocre. So it was time to readjust the scales, and they did so by getting the win versus the Dolphins. Tua finally comes back down to earth. Herbert finally looks like Herbert again and gets a win in his belt in the great Herbert versus Tua debate that rages on and probably going to rage on for the rest of their careers. 367 and a touchdown for Herbert in this game. Eckler got a touchdown. Mike Williams looked very good. 6 receptions, 116 for him. We had that wild fumble, which Cheetah somehow picked up and then took nearly to the crib. He had 4 receptions, 81 yards, and a touchdown in the game for himself. 4 sacks for the Dolphins, but again, Herbert played a little bit better. Chargers played a little bit better, and they get it done. Congrats to San Diego, and congrats for Justin Herbert fans. You get a much needed win. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the Roundup. And of course, that means it's time to talk some college football. The Heisman ceremony was this Saturday. Fight on. Caleb Williams is your 2022 Heisman. Now, I'm not particularly surprised because, I have faith in the boy and the Vegas odds were kind of pretty telling. And also, when he first came here, I always thought he had that type of potential. I mean, I'm going to be honest. From the moment I saw him come on at Red River, and he was still the guy he was in high school, immediately in college, I felt like Caleb Williams was going to win a Heisman. I didn't think it was going to be this fast, but you know what? I'm not complaining. We have another Heisman winner, and his name is Superman. All right, Caleb Williams. He was phenomenal this year, very deserving. I know a lot of people calling it a weak year because Henning got hurt, Corum got hurt, so on and so forth. But you know what? Caleb is very deserving. If you watched us for any substantial amount of time this year, and I mean more than just the last 2 games of the season, you would know how much he meant to this team and how much, his play bailed us out with the magic he has in his feet and in his arm. So, very well deserving. Could see a repeat winner. We'll see if it happens. Very, very hard to do. But, hopefully we can replace some of the people that are leaving and continue to evolve and become a better team. But, Lincoln Riley has a 3rd Heisman winner in 6 years or 5 years. So, that's insane. But, final one, Caleb. Love to see it. Heisman. It's like I posted on my story. Follow me there. Not much more to say besides that. Funny though, the Heisman winner doesn't win the Davey O'Brien. Not that I have anything against Max, I just find that a little funny. In the NBA, to end off here, ladies and gentlemen, what I really want to talk about, besides the fact that, by the way, shout out to the Rockets. Jalen Green dropped 30 yesterday. I think LeBron also dropped 30. Who else that I can throw in here? College basketball, Carolina won a game. Virginia's going to be the number 1 team because Houston lost to Bama. Illinois continues to balance from looking like a top 10 team and just not looking like a top 25 team at all. But what I really want to talk about, of course, is the new biggest rivalry in the league, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns. Now, the Pelicans have been on ascension. All right, they have now won 7 straight after yesterday's game. But, they played the Suns twice this week. It was like a mini playoff series. The Suns, of course, have for the past 2 years been the class of the West. The Pelicans have been the team on the rise. It finally came to a head on, I think it was Friday, because then they played on, Sunday. So, Pelicans, hard-fought game. They get the win. Zion goes off. He gets revenge. CP3, for some reason, goes for a layup at the end of the game. He blows it. Zion is out by himself on the break, and of course he does his signature 360 windmill to end the game. Pelicans fans go insane. The Suns are livid. Alright, they're livid because he broke the unwritten rule. You're not supposed to score, sportsmanship, blah, 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 all that bullshit. Alright? So they get tight about that. Nobody really cares. Everybody makes fun of them. Meet us on Sunday. Alright? If you're really that pressed about it, beat us. What do you think the Suns did yesterday? They did not beat the Pelicans. Zion dropped 30 again. The man needs to be in MVP conversation. He had 35 yesterday as the Pelicans sweep the Suns for the weekend and effectively shut them up and also take control of first place in the West. I said it last year. I'll say it again right now. The Pelicans are they are a championship contender. With a healthy Zion Williamson, they are a championship contender. They are a threat to each and every single team in the National Basketball Association and need to be considered very, very seriously. Very, very seriously. Deadly seriously. Because they are one of the best teams in the league. And now they are playing like one of the best teams in the league with one of the best players. And a couple of the best players, if we're being honest. But Zion is looking like that guy. Once again. And needs to be in MVP conversation. I digress. But Suns, crawl back to your hole, get out of your feelings, or just go back to the Kardashian-Jenner household, since apparently y'all have been frequenting it quite a bit. Quite a bit. But for now, New Orleans gets revenge. Looks like we might have a new rivalry. It'd be a treat if they showed up and played each other in the playoffs. But for now, Pelicans have bragging rights. And for this episode, we are done. I hope you guys enjoyed. Enjoy your week. It is my last finals week. And then I'll be back to 336 for winter break. My last winter break as a college student. And that is very, very sad and tragic and all of the above. But I appreciate all the love lately. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho, signing off.